There are so many tools out there that let you read and parse documents like PDFs, spreadsheets, and images, but the one I'm going to show you today is not only free, open source, fast, and accurate, it also runs on your laptop and is 100% local. That means zero API calls or cloud processing, a total win for privacy. And look, whether it's today or a month from now, your agent is going to run into some kind of document that it needs to understand. And this is exactly why you'll want to watch till the end of this video so you're ready when that happens. So LiteParse was just released by the team behind LlamaIndex. And if anyone understands the complexities of data extraction for LLMs, it's these guys. And when I said fast earlier, I meant it. Just look at how quickly this PDF turns into a clean text ready for embedding or LLM consumption. And the best part? This is all happening offline on a basic MacBook. Okay, first, let's dive into the implementation. And I'm using Docker here just to keep things clean, but you don't have to worry about the setup because you're going to find everything you need in the description below to get this running on your local machine with just a couple of commands. Okay, so let's take a quick look at our Docker file. And first we set up a Node.js environment, and then we install these optional packages here, which are going to help us convert images to PDFs or process other document types like spreadsheets. And then we install the LiteParse package with TSX for TypeScript support. And finally, I'm going to run the app with the watch flag so I can get live updates as I make changes to the code. So I also set up a Docker Compose file just to easily manage this demo. Again, don't worry about the setup. You could either install these packages directly on your machine or clone this demo and run it in Docker. All right, so next I have this documents directory, which has a couple of documents that I'm going to test. The first one is transactions.pdf, and the second one is in Excel format. It's basically the same file you saw at the beginning of this video, just in two different formats. Okay, here's what the document looks like. And as you can see, we have some structure like graphs, tables, columns, and rows. And this is a good example because we can see what the output's going to look like. LiteParse handles parsing by using a hybrid approach to balance speed and accuracy. It leverages libraries like pdf.js to extract machine-readable text, tesseract.js for scans and handwriting, and LibreOffice for document processing. The most important thing, though, is that it preserves the document's original layout, which means tables and multi-column structures stay intact for AI processing. Now, this is especially important because structure provides the spatial logic LLMs need to identify relationships, like which value belong to which table header. And as you know, great input equals great output. So by preserving the original spacing, this lets LLMs see the page's structure exactly like we would. All right, so the code basically does the following. First, I'm importing LiteParse from LlamaIndex LiteParse, and then inside of the run function, I'm creating an instance of LiteParse called parser, and I'm passing a couple of properties here. Now, there are more properties that I'm going to go over in a few, but for now, I'm just passing precise bounding box true and output format JSON. Next, I'm calling the parse method on the parser, and then I'm passing the path where my PDF file is located. So I'm saying parser.parse documents transactions.pdf. Then we're logging the text property of the result output that we got from the parser. And that's it. That's everything. Super simple. And I'm just going to save it so you can see what the output looks like. Okay, cool. Now, let's take a look at the structure. I can clearly see that the table here is still obviously a table, so nothing in terms of spacing was lost. If I go up a little bit, I can see the table from page 1 also clearly visible with a nice structure. We can tell that food, the actual amount was $350. So everything is there and nothing was lost during parsing. Now, this is where you can process your data further or feed this maybe to your agent and maybe store in your embeddings database or do whatever you need to do. Okay, so now I'm going to process the Excel file. And this is essentially the same file as before, just in Excel format. So we're going to change the extension here. I'm going to say XLSX. And behind the scenes, LiteParse is going to use LibreOffice to process this document. Now, since it's the same file, I'm expecting the same output as before. I'm going to hit save and see what we have. Okay, so This took a little bit more time because LiteParse is converting the Excel file to PDF first before it parses it, and then it's using OCR to extract the text. But if we scroll down, we can see that the structure is still looking good, so nothing was lost during parsing, and the spacing is obviously still there exactly how we need it to. And this is great when you're dealing with LLMs because, like I said before, if you have great input for your models, then the output is more relevant and you would reduce hallucinations and errors when dealing with this kind of data. You can also pass raw bytes directly instead of a file path. So if you're working with remote files, for example, instead of specifying the path like I'm doing here, you could read the file using HTTP fetch and then pass the buffer to the parser. Okay, let's go back to our parser initialization to see which configuration you can tweak to balance speed and accuracy. So first, let me get rid of this. And I'm going to start by going over the OCR language property, which by default is EN for English, and this is the language code used to identify text within images. Next, we have OCR enabled, and this is used to turn on text recognition for scanned pages or images. This defaults to true. Next, OCR server URL, and this is an optional link to a remote server to handle heavy OCR tasks instead of using your local machine. I'm not going to cover this in this video, but do check out the official documentation if this applies to you. Num workers. So this is how many CPU cores to use at once. A higher value means faster parsing, but more memory usage. Max pages. This limits the parser to a specific number of pages to avoid processing massive files. By default, this is set to 1,000. All right, next is target pages. And this is kind of like the printer settings page where you define which page or pages you want to print. For LiteParse, this is where you could say, I want to parse page 1 only, or a range of pages like 3 to 5, for example. Okay, we can also set the DPI value. So this is dots per inch, which means the resolution for rendering pages to images. Higher values like 300 make small text easier to read, which means better OCR accuracy, but higher processing time. The default value here is 150. Okay, output format. And this lets you choose between structured JSON with coordinates or layout preserved plain text, like the one we've been logging to the console in the previous example. In this case, JSON is especially helpful if you're building an app that needs to highlight specific areas, since it provides the exact coordinates, X and Y, as they appear on the document for every piece of text. By default, this is set to text. Okay, next we have precise bounding box, and this calculates the exact box around every line, which is essential for mapping visual structure. This is true by default. Okay, this one is obvious, but preserve very small text is going to force the parser to preserve the tiny fine print that is usually ignored as noise. This is false by default. Okay, this is the final property or configuration that you can play around with, and it's called preserve layout alignment across pages. And this is false by default, but if you set it to true, it's going to ensure that the columns or margins stay consistent even when moving from one page to the next. So you might need this depending on your use case. So all of this config is also available with the LiteParse CLI, which is also exposed as a Python wrapper. In the terminal, you can run LiteParse document.pdf and then specify a format and an output file like you can see here. Or maybe you want to target specific pages or turn off OCR for a specific job. Now in Python scripts, you can first install LiteParse using pip, and then you can pass the same arguments or settings like we saw. So you can pass OCR enabled, true or false, max pages, DPI, etc. directly into the Python wrapper, which makes it super easy to create data pipelines for AI agents or research tools. If you want to read more about how to use the CLI and Python wrapper, head over to the official documentation. I'm going to leave a link in the description below. This year was unlike anything we've seen before when it comes to agentic AI. Document processing is needed more than ever, and LiteParse is a perfect option if you're looking for a 100% offline, accurate, and open source tool for your project. Make sure to stay tuned because we're going to dive deeper into LiteParse in coming videos. But let me know exactly what you'd like to see next.